Suff is an American serial killer, also known as the Riverside Prostitute Killer and the Lake Eleanor Killer. He was born on August 20th, 1950 in Torrance, California. He was the oldest of 5 children. His father worked as an electrician and left him and his siblings when they were very young, leaving only his mother to care for them. Suff's classmates described him as friendly and a skillful musician. The friendly reputation quickly disintegrated in 1974 when him and his wife at the time, Carol, were arrested for beating their 2-month-old daughter to death. Their daughter died of massive hemorrhaging caused by a beating so severe that her liver was ruptured. Suff, however, claimed that she just fell out of her crib. He and his wife were sentenced to 70 years in prison. His wife's conviction was overturned after just 20 months, finding insufficient evidence to convict her as either the primary actor or a principal in the baby's murder. Suff, however, he was sentenced to 70 years but only served 10 and was let out in 1984. In 1986, 2 years after being let out on parole, he began a government job working as a store clerk in Riverside County, California. His co-workers described him as a friendly nerd who was always doing things to help people. Suff would go on in the next 5 years to kill 18 to 20 plus women. The exact number is unknown. His first victim was found on October 30th, 1986. Her name was Michelle Gutierrez. She was found partly clothed in a drainage ditch by a traveler scavenging for aluminum cans. She was stabbed multiple times in the private areas and strangulation marks were around her neck. He went on to kill 18 more women, most of them being prostitutes. Victim number 11 seemed to have the worst death of all of his victims. Her name was Cheryl Coker. She was 33 years old and married. She was found completely nude in the middle of a ditch with her right breast severed completely off. Suff used the meat from this breast in his chili recipe that would go on to win the Riverside County Employee Chili Cook-Off. To get his victims, Suff would cruise around red light districts and lure his victims into the back of his van. Once he got them into his van, he would rape them and kill them by either stabbing or strangulation. He would sometimes mutilate the bodies into multiple pieces before he dumped them. He would dump the bodies in empty fields or near garbage dumpsters, and he would pose them in offensive positions, either partially or completely nude. Suff had one victim escape on January 10th, 1989. Her name was Rhonda Jetmore, and she was a 27-year-old prostitute. She claims that her and Suff's agreement turned violent, so she grabbed a flashlight and struck him upside the head, causing him to loosen his grip enough so that she could escape. His last victim was Eleanor Casares, 39 years old, and her body was found on December the 23rd, 1991. His killing spree came to an end on January 9th, 1992, when he was pulled over for a routine traffic stop after doing an illegal U-turn. The officer found a bloody knife and a few of the victim's personal belongings in the back of his van. He was arrested on the spot, and the following investigation led to the discovery of his involvement in the killings. Suff left evidence that would come to connect him to the murders. There were cat hairs found on a few of his victims that matched his cat, and there were blue fibers on one of the victims that matched a sleeping bag that was stored in the back of his van. After 58 days of trial, the jury found him guilty of 12 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. They also found him guilty of multiple murder, the use of a deadly weapon, and lying in wait. The next day, August 17th, 1995, he was given the death sentence. His job as a store clerk allowed him to work close with the task force that was investigating his crimes. His two-faced Jekyll and Hyde personality was the reason that he was allowed, or that he stumped the best crime analyst at the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. He currently is awaiting execution at San Quentin, California, or at San Quentin Prison in California, and to this day, he still claims his innocence and that the police used him as a scapegoat.